Mr. Chair, you are now live.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. This is Terry Lomax, Chair of the Maritime Advisory Board. It is our October, whatever the day is, 20th meeting, and we are now live. We have, for those of you that are just listening, we have Andy Fegley from the MAB, Frida Wildy from the MAB, Duncan Hood from the MAB, Debbie Goslin from the MAB, Bill Woodward from the MAB, Peter Trogdon from the MAB, Scott Allen from the MAB. We have Jennifer Kay as a guest. We have Hope Stewart from the Office of Planning and Zoning / Economic Development. And we have Stephen Rice. Hello, Stephen. We have Tammy Hook, our recorder. We have Beth Bellis, the Harbor Master, Ashley Leonard from the Office of Law, and Jake Iverson. I think I got everybody, I hope. And I assume unless somebody has an objection, they have permission to record this meeting, and then you can go back and listen to yourselves online. And I need to figure out how I mute that, but it's going to do its thing, and that's going to be the end of that. Why somebody is calling me in the middle of the night, I don't know. All right, so let's get started. Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes from the September meeting?
Indeed.
That was Mr. Hood. Tammy?
That's so amended. Yep.
Second.
Who set? Do we have Ms. Goslin has chimed in second with the amendment? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. I don't see Mr. Frankie. Hello, Mike. You got the note. You got the Mr. Tomasini has joined us from the MAB also. And we've hopefully taken care of making sure you're back on the list. I don't know why you got kicked off, but whatever you did, you must have ticked somebody off. We have Mr. Frankie will pass on the update from the county MIAB, although I think I did send everyone a copy of the MIAB's comments, which we'll get to later on in terms of the subject, but on the Severn River restrictions. So I think that probably would have been the gist of his report, is that was there. Mr. Rice, any update on economic development? Mr. Rice went away. Oh, he didn't.
Okay.
He just unmuted.
Well, we have a lot happening on the economic development front. I guess the biggest thing is that we still have probably 12 recovery zones across the city that we are continuing to manage. We recently sent out some information, I'll call it a Halloween guidance, that covered not only the health guidelines from the county, but also some information on aggressive panhandling and a request that truck deliveries be made in the morning so that they do not tie up the streets, block traffic, and overstay their time in the loading zones. We're doing some planning with regard to Midnight Madness. We hope to have that event safely and successfully this year. And we also are in the process of reviewing applications for tents. We recently put out some communiques primarily for restaurants and retailers regarding winterization. And the plan is to keep our outdoor shopping and dining experience going through the winter to help the local businesses. So there are some tents that are obviously have been up since the summer, but we're going to have something more substantial, of course, to keep the same kind of experience through the winter months. So we put out some guidelines and we're moving forward with that. I see a question, so I'm going to stop.
Hey, Steve, does that mean that Main Street's going to be blocked off with these tents?
I don't that we don't have any plans to do that per se any more than what we're doing right now.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and I'm sorry, last one. What's the city's position on Halloween?
Halloween is a go. We want people to participate if they so choose, but do it safely. And our primary guidebook are the health guidelines that the county health department put out fairly recently. And those were included in the communique that we sent out not too long ago.
Thank you.
Stephen, actually, to follow up on Duncan, just as a bit of trivia, this Halloween happens to be a full moon, blue moon, and a blue moon on Halloween hasn't fallen on Halloween, I believe, since either 1944 or 1946. So
I want to break into song.
It is a special blue moon Halloween, COVID-19, whatever.
But,
And on a Saturday.
And on a Saturday, you're right. So, but Stephen, back on the question about the winterization, once we close in tents, and I'm assuming putting up some side curtains and things like that, and then heaters are going to be probably the predominant method. Are the occupancies going to change, or will they stay the same, or will they follow, more the indoor rules?
So the footprint for the restaurants, of course, will change. The indoor occupancy, we don't really have much control over that. Those orders come from the governor and then get reinterpreted by the county, and then we essentially follow suit. So that's hard to say if from an indoor standpoint, but the outdoor footprint will probably change for some of them. The balance here is between the heaters, of course, emanate heat, but some of them, depending on the kind, can emanate or produce carbon monoxide. So we need to balance the need for heat with the need for ventilation for not only the release of the carbon monoxide, but also to provide ventilation to reduce the potency of COVID. So there's a lot that is being balanced at the same time with respect to the temp policy, and the guidelines kind of I think do a good job of reflecting those competing concerns.
All right, thanks. Hope, we didn't have a specific item for you, but it's probably an appropriate time for you to, if you've got anything you want to add.
Nothing additional to add.
Okay, well, that makes it very easy. Duncan, any update on the comprehensive plan? You're unmute. You're muted.
Yeah, there you go. I've been muted. I have no updates at all on the comprehensive plan. It's been crickets out here. However, there is an event coming up on this Sunday, the 25th of October, which we should be aware of. Is this the time to bring that up?
It's fine.
Great. So the 25th is what we're calling the Parade of Schooners. And this will consist of 5 or 6 boats, Lynx, One and If, Jen's boat, Woodwind, my boat Adventurer, and probably Libertate and Adventure, not Adventurer. So we will be about 12:30, we'll be leaving Navy Point, parading through the harbor. And then once through the harbor, we will go out for a sail around the buoys somewhere, depending on the wind. So I just want, probably Beth has been in touch with Lee Tawney at this point, but there's your heads up.
All right. Thank you. Beth, is there anything we need to necessarily know about that or about Mr. Pastrana's jump on Thursday?
So regarding the Schooner Parade, I've actually been talking with Jennifer Kay more than Lee, and it doesn't seem like there will be any concerns there. I don't think it's a big group, and I'm sure they'll be orderly. And if someone decides that we need to lead it, we're happy to lead it, put our lights on. But I don't think you need it.
Well, we plan to be water skiing in the harbor.
Okay, great.
Swimming. We have all those new ladders now. We can all swim and get out.
And then if no one has anything more about the Schooner Parade, I would move on to the Pastrana Stunt. It's given me a lot of heartburn today, quite honestly, because I had a morning conversation with the U.S. Coast Guard, and they have indicated that their permits do not allow them to break any of Maryland's state boating laws. So the city didn't give them permission to go fast in Eagle Alley. Neither did the state of Maryland. Neither did the U.S. Coast Guard. So
What would be going fast in Eagle Alley? I thought he was jumping across Eagle Alley.
But they've added this boat called the Miss Geico, which is a go fast catamaran. And so what I have said officially to the city is I don't support this. I don't understand how we can allow this. We haven't allowed it. It's not allowed by permit. It's not allowed by the U.S. Coast Guard. They haven't asked for waivers from the state of Maryland. So they're asking for a morning meeting tomorrow, I suppose, to try to get their ultimate stunt approved. And thankfully the Office of Law is going to attend, but I'm just concerned about the health of the bulkhead on 110 Compromise, about possibly vessels at Yacht Basin, Watermark's barge, and any vessels in the area. I don't think the city can sanction it.
Hey,
Because
Beth,
the city can't say you can break the state law.
Beth, are we talking about the Miss Geico in the water, or are we talking about the actual stunt itself at this point?
I think the stunt is none of my concern. My concern is Miss Geico running at a high rate of speed up Eagle Alley.
And why would that want to happen? I that's something wasn't aware of. So I'm trying to get a little bit of background on it.
I wasn't really aware of it either because it wasn't in the permit. It was discussed a long time ago, and then when they downgraded everything, it wasn't discussed. So I assumed that it was gone, and then I found out that it was back on the docket.
So what's this boat? So why does it need to run at any speed at all up and down Eagle Alley?
Well, I met with the organizer on Friday, and he told me that they want the boat to start at the head of Eagle Alley, up by where the Kunta Kinte statue is, or Alex Haley statue is, get up to speed by the time it hits Newman Street, and then immediately throttle back and somehow come to a standstill before it reaches Pussers and our barge. And what they want to do is have the boat, which is right. They want to have the boat going fast and have the rooster tail splashing water over Travis as he jumps across Eagle Alley. So they want that vision.
So how many takes is that? How many filmings is that going to take to get that right?
That's a good question.
You know, I mean, that's a.
Anyone know how big a boat? Does anyone know how big a boat this is?
I just texted a picture of it to Terry, but it looks to me like it's about 50 feet long.
Oh.
It's still got the cover on it.
50?
Here's the best part. It goes 212 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's not, I've seen that at the boat show in Baltimore a few years ago. It's an offshore racing catamaran.
Yeah.
And it's probably 1,500 horsepower, a couple engines, and as Debbie says,
0 to 60 in the distance from Kunta Kinte to
2 boat lengths, probably 0 to 60.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't make me feel comfortable.
Yeah, Beth, I share your, I share your concern. But we'll see what what happens. I mean,
It's a pretty neat boat.
tomorrow and the event is on Thursday, so.
They need to start photoshopping and see what they can do. Photoshop, whatever.
That's what I suggested. They can get a pump and just pump some water up in the air while they're standing still.
I mean, to be honest, half the group is really reasonable. So the stunt group is different from the, I guess, the event group.
Right.
So the stunt group they totally get it and they'll figure it out. But I suppose the group that's hired by the stunt group, they're trying to make crazy things happen. So I can only put my concerns in writing. I believe that I'm supported by the Office of Law. I haven't heard back from the city manager, but I expect him to support my direction not to permit it. I mean, we haven't permitted it. Neither has the state, neither has the Coast Guard, but we probably need to do something to stop it.
So, and is there is there an estimated time for all of this? Are we talking about rush hour in the morning, or are we talking about noon lunch hour, or are they just waiting to?
I mean, the actual jumping time is from 7 to 9 a.m.
7 to 9 a.m. Okay.
But the disturbance time is from 5 a.m. to possibly noon. But I don't think it's going to be that long.
And by disturbance, you mean basically set up, take down?
Traffic, closure to Eagle Alley.
Disturbance started Monday morning.
Well, that's true.
Okay. All right. Well, that will be so. And they're jumping from Newman Street side to into your office.
It looks like it, yeah. If you
Okay.
look at the ramps.
I mean, that kind of seemed to be where it was going to go, but
Further up Ego Alley than I thought, but I don't know how I thought it would be different. But just feels like even if he comes off the gas, the minute he hits the ramp on our side, I don't know how you can stop without hitting latitude 38. It's just crazy.
so I mean, he's jumping from Susan, from your side to into the park.
The other way. No, he's jumping from Newman Street, like by
Okay.
Fleet Reserve,
Okay.
over to adjacent to our building.
With a little bit of run out until he hits the Naval Academy seat.
Very little bit.
Yeah, but you could fix this if you just move the barge, parked it alongside the Fleet Reserve Club.
We can sell tickets.
All right.
I mean, they do want to demolish my building, so
Yeah, you know, that might be a good way to get somebody else to pay for it. All right, that should be interesting. I'm sure that the press will be all over filming that morning.
the only thing that I would add is if you have any friends or family that want to come by boat, they will not see anything by boat.
You
They
invite
will not find docking and they will be frustrated and angry. So if they want to see it, they need to come by car.
You inviting us all up to the harbor master's office for a tour?
Sure, absolutely. I'll brew the coffee.
Sounds like a death
Beth,
wish.
Beth, does that mean that the harbor will be closed?
Ego Alley is going to be closed to entry and egress. I have asked to have some more slips back since I have said that the Miss Geico cannot go fast, but I have not heard back.
I can't see them stopping before they get outside of the Eagle Alley, but we'll see.
But outside of Ego Alley will still be open?
According to the Coast Guard diagram, yes, but remains to be seen how quickly that boat can stop.
Okay.
So I have a conference call with Coast Guard Annapolis tomorrow morning to try to figure out where we're going to post our boats.
And they're supposed to do a trial run out in the bay somewhere. But I don't think that has taken place yet since the boat's still in the parking lot undercover.
I think they lodged it.
Which parking lot was it in? Debbie, you're mute.
Oh, it was right downtown by the harbor master's office at 5 o'clock today, this afternoon, on a trailer.
Yeah, it was still that way when we docked at 6.
Okay.
All right, everyone stay tuned. Those of you listening, stay tuned also. City Dock Action Committee, I sent around Eileen's little short update on what's happening, basically proceeding on the, let me find the right email that I had, but anyway, basically proceeding on the Hillman Garage process with getting bids, et cetera. Again, it's just it's just going to be a time consuming effort, and with the focus first on Hillman Garage before we move on to more substantive things down on the down on City Dock. So she's periodically sending out updates, and that's where that stands. On the
Terry?
Yes, ma'am.
That update had said that there was going to be a meeting of the committee members sometime in October, but I haven't heard anything more about
I
that.
have not. I'm glad you mentioned that because I had not seen anything else either. So you know as much as I do, and we all know as much as I do, which is whatever was in the what was in that notice. Mike, Severn River restrictions. I did send everybody the the county's comments. I don't know if there's any update from you or Frida at this point. I think the main concern that I have seen over the various comments is what good is it going to do to only shut down half of the river as opposed to, shut it down, restrict the speed all the way across the river. But that seems to be the thrust of most of the comments is that halfway doesn't do much good because everybody's going to come speeding by the other half. But I don't know if you have any more update than that.
Yeah, so after you sent out the comments from the county MIB, I reached out to Michael Simonson, who's the head of the Boat Act Advisory Committee. He informed me that they had meetings both in March and in May, but they hadn't yet posted the minutes on that. He shared with me the same public comments which were submitted for the October meeting about restricting speed and only part of the Severn River could potentially make things more dangerous by putting all the boats that are going fast into, basically one column of the river as opposed to the full width of the river. And it didn't appear that they believed that it was going to do much good for the public safety outside of, the property damage at the Naval Academy, which is where we thought it might go, that the Boat Act Advisory Committee rarely rules in favor of changing regulations to protect private or public property. It's more so safety related, and if you can't make a safety argument, then they just deny the request. He had said that the October meeting minutes should be up by the end of the month. They're not up right now. But I looked back through some previous meeting minutes, and there is basically, it's not a moratorium, but a 3-year window where they'll look at the same area for restrictions. So a group of residents on the South River that live in between the Riva Road Bridge and the Route 2 Bridge have been at it with the Boat Act Advisory Committee to establish a 6 basically between those two bridges. And they basically petition every 3 years because they can't get redone. So if the Naval Academy request fails, which is a guess, then it'll be 3 years before they'll consider any other types of restrictions on the river in the short term. But it does appear from some of the discussions that if a safety argument were made, if it was a life safety argument, that maybe there would be more traction. So.
Well, it's something to keep in mind, going forward, and I guess keep track of how many boats are capsized by fast-going boats during, dinghy season or something, and statistically begin to make that argument going forward. But at least the process, we've gone through the process. We understand the process at this point.
Right, and I mean, there's a solid argument to be made. I think everybody in this meeting would agree that, maybe a swath across the river is not the exact right solution. The uses in the harbor are such that it's not dominated by just power or sail or large or big. It's really, you know, the sailing schools, the paddleboarders, the kayakers, the people who are just there fishing up from a semi-stable platform, in addition to the, you know, to the high volume, high weight cruisers and sailboats who are changing course at irregular intervals. So it does seem to make sense for a change. It's just how you make that argument and then have them come and study it properly and do something.
So
about it.
does the moratorium prohibit or prohibit the filing of another petition for another section of the river as opposed to just that little section?
Right. That's what I aim to find out. So that's my next correspondence. After I see the public commentary and the meeting minutes from the October meetings, once they come up, my next question is, okay, well, so if we're talking about a completely different restriction in a completely different area by a different party, can it then be resubmitted and restudied, or has the area been placed on a moratorium for a consideration?
All right. Well, yeah, just keep us posted on that, because that would seem to be the step would be the safety argument probably is better made, you know, for the area just to the east of the Naval Academy, you know, between the shoal marker and Triton Light or somewhere in that area. I mean, at least that would seem to be the more safety concern area as opposed to the private property area, you know, affecting the basin. So.
Right. I mean, if you showed any reasonable person a video of what happens right there at the point where boats come around the corner from the Severna Park area and into the harbor, just kind of, you know, casually taking that turn at not 6 miles an hour, and somebody who's fishing there on a kayak at the point, I think you could make a pretty heady argument to say that at least something needs to change, even if we're just pushing the 6 mile an hour buoys out a little bit further into the river there, so that you have to stop. You have to come to a stop before you make that blind turn. But
okay.
Yeah.
01520. We now have passed our, was it 4620? I think it was the resolution to create the Maritime Task Force. That passed last Monday, I understand. I have to admit, I was traveling yesterday and in an arbitration all day today, and I have not gone online to see if that final version was in fact adopted. I assumed that it was. Ashley, maybe you can tell us and whether or not it's posted, and if it is in the final passed version, we can go online and take a look. We can all see it.
I will check right now. Give me a second.
All right. Well, while you do that, I'll follow up the final version tweaked, and I had some comments that were not included, but tweaked the composition somewhat, a little bit, and then the next step, assuming it would pass, would be the appointment of the members, and then break the group up, I believe, into essentially three subgroups or subcommittees, or appoint subcommittees to address on the zoning, 2, the economic development side, 3, the water access / safety issues. And I have been very adamant that the zoning, that they should be the 3 disconnected goals, so that we don't get bogged down. One goal does not bog down progress on any of the other 2, but it just was passed. So I think at this point, about the only update there is that yes, I believe it was passed, and Ashley's going to confirm that and tell us whether it's posted at some point. But that's where that stands. Debbie, I'll let you address, and maybe Jen, the charter doc policy statement. I think I sent everybody a copy from from Ashley's office, and with the note that basically we're probably going to live with what that form is, as of until through this season, because the season's about the end. But I think Debbie, you or Jen one had comments that perhaps you had already sent back to Ashley. I think I saw that. I have to admit I was a little bit out of the loop on that in terms of following that very meticulously. So Debbie or Jen, if you can fill us in.
I'll start, then let Jen finish. I did send comments to you, Terry. I don't know, I can't recall at this point whether Ashley was on that email or not. First of all, I finished the sentence from the minutes from last time, which I think were included in the amended minutes that we approved tonight. Is that correct?
I do believe that is correct. Tammy made those corrections, so
Okay.
I'm assuming they.
And there were a couple of things about the application, which isn't really a policy, it's an application, but perhaps the policy could be in that, published in that application as a preamble for the information that is needed for anybody that wants to use the charter doc. But a couple of things, the use of it that has taken place for decades since it was formed has been that the business must be pre-booked. It's a charter doc, which in our industry means that it's a private charter. It's not public tickets. In the actual reservation application that was drafted and that Ashley sent to us, it uses the term cycle of use and also the term loading and discharge cycle. And I think that those two terms need to be connected. Cycle of use doesn't refer to pick up and drop off, which is what we call it, as opposed to loading and discharge, but it should. And those were the main things, is that the charter doc policy should remain as it has been in place since its inception in the 70s.
There was, I had sent comments to Ashley, and I think I copied everybody on the board about including, reversing the language about signage and about no commercial activity, because the statute is worded in the negative. In other words, there shall be no commercial activity except pursuant to, and I think it was a lease, or there was some other way, and maybe it was the harbor masters allowing it, but there was specific language right from the code that I thought should be made clear that there was to be no commercial activity except, as opposed to be saying commercial activity shall be in accordance with, just to make clear that it's a limited exception as opposed to a broader permission. Debbie, why don't, after this meeting sometime this week, why don't you and I follow up with your comments? Jen, if you have anything to tag on to Debbie, let's do the same. Maybe even three of us can get on a call together and then get back to Ashley with a combined, a single set of comments as opposed to three sets of comments along the way. And if anybody else has any thoughts on that policy, just send them to me, copy Debbie and Jennifer, Jen, and then we'll put them all together and send them over to Ashley and see if we can have this hammered out so that when we start off the 21 season or the 2021 season or whatever season it is, we will have a policy in place that firm policy back in place.
And I just checked, and I had sent that email to you and to Ashley with my comments.
I thought it had gone, but I mean, I think we were inundating Ashley with comments from different, without being cohesive. It was just, I think we owe her the courtesy of putting them all together in one place. So we'll do that. Mr. Tomasini, did you find out anything more about the SAYC dockage question?
No, I haven't gotten any further on that. Maybe Beth would know more. I have this fuzzy memory of something that we discussed at the meeting. We had a guest from the condos that were adjacent to SAYC,
Right.
who had repeated difficulties coming out of their slips. And they had said, it was mentioned at that meeting. That's all I remember, was that if
That
they're allowed to move the outward side, the channelward side of the T head out to the most outward pilings, then that dockage would then become unusable, because any boat that would dock there on the T head would then go over the harbor line, even if it was.
I think they actually, as you, and I've given that some thought, and I went back and looked, knowing that we were going to talk about this tonight. The adjoining neighbors issue was, I believe, the lateral line. In other words, the property line between them. The harbor, not the harbor line out in the harbor so much as the lateral line. And if a boat was put into one of those slips, which was perpendicular to the lateral line, the bow could conceivably, depending on the size of the boat, would stick out and obstruct their access in and out of, because it would stick out past the lateral line. That was as opposed to out on the harbor side, the harbor line side was my recollection, because I know the harbor line was clear about its, what I think it's, Beth, correct me if I'm wrong, but the structure has to stay at least 5 feet inside the harbor line. I think that was I think I'm correct on that. But on the lateral line, it's 5 feet unless it's been some, grandfathered use or whatever, because it's like your property line in the, a bit like your property line between neighbors. You could have encroached for a certain period of time, and then it becomes, you get adverse possession on the water, is my point. But you can't do that with the harbor line, because that's out into the city and the state. So we'll just keep an eye on that and see. I think it might have been more about the lateral line, because I think the harbor line is pretty clear as to where they are. That's just recollection. Last but not least, Mr. Trogdon, Mr. Trogdon, or I don't know who else we have. Nobody. Oh, Stephen, you might know. I just had on here, we normally have a boat show. How did the boat show go? Obviously, how the boat show went was it didn't, which obviously also had an impact on the city revenues. But Peter, you were maybe you can fill us in a little bit more on the impact in the bigger picture in terms of the impact on the industry.
Well, yeah. Thanks, Terry. Last meeting, I was just wondering if people wanted to think about that, how no boat show has had impact on their business or other businesses in the Annapolis area, and a lot of people come from the state, around the state and around the region to enjoy a surge of business, the hotels and the restaurants and all that. It's kind of a tough situation, obviously, but I'm just was wondering the impact of no show, and then I know about how that impacted the boat show office, and it was pretty devastating. Obviously, there's no surprise there, because we had worked hard to put that show on, and we're expecting to do it. So a lot of expenses there, but there's so many other people that are involved, and just thinking if our group, the Maritime Board, is there any communication that we should be thinking about sending to the city? Is there anything that we can recommend that could help some of these organizations that maybe having a pretty tough time? I don't know. Haven't got any recommendations there, but just wondering if there's some voice from the Maritime Board that should go on to the city if conditions prevail. But just interested in anyone else's comments.
Andy, let me ask you, because you are, to use a newer expression, you are boots on the ground in terms of working, did you see a difference in your, any uptick, downtick in your business, or maybe you don't get that much of an uptick or downtick from the boat shows? I don't know.
It's been an incredible summer work-wise, which is pretty unexpected. Everybody who I work alongside sort of agrees that we didn't expect to be busy all summer. We have been. Work has fallen off. Usually my fall is the busiest time I get. It's not only due to the boat show, or it's partially due to the boat show, but it's majority boats traveling south. But a lot of those boats come to the show before the shows, stay anchored out in all the creeks nearby, and then go south anytime up until mid-November. And I get a major bump in work then. I would say that bump is about 50% of what it would be. So that's pretty down. Usually this is my busiest time of year right now. I'm caught up, which I haven't been all summer long. I have had a bunch of manufacturers reps come by just because I think they're bored to tears and they missed the boat show. So they came to town and just to touch base with local businesses like mine. And I actually appreciated that and have welcomed them into my shop and carefully. But it's been a different year, that's for sure. And what is the winter going to hold? I'm not holding my breath.
Duncan?
Yeah, and over at Port Annapolis, we've been, just like Andy has been, absolutely slammed. Having talked to 3 different boat dealers who sell boats, they're out of product. If you walked into West Marine lately, you'll notice they're out of product. So I think what's happened is that people have really gone onto the water to do their social distancing thing. They've used up all the product in the local stores, whether that's a new boat or whether that's a widget. And here comes winter, Jon Snow. None of these manufacturers are filling in what's been taken away. And that's what I'm seeing on my side. Port Annapolis right now is pretty well slammed with haul outs and work up through November, which is a good thing. But I really wonder about the manufacturers filling in this back product as we get into winter.
So the filling in of, the on-land storage and all would seem to have some relationship to the fact that there's no hard boat products out there because everybody's bought a boat, now they want to haul it. And so they need a place to put it. And so that would carry into something into the winter. But
one other anomaly about this year specifically is boats that would otherwise have always gone to New England didn't necessarily. Boats that definitely would have been going to the Caribbean for the winter are having serious second thoughts about it. I have a friend who's 3/4 of the way down the waterway now. He said traffic's about 50% of what he would expect it to be.
Well, I wonder how much of that too. I had actually 2 friends who would normally have gone to the Caribbean or in that area. Pantadius and others have gotten out of the insurance business or significantly jacked up the rates for Caribbean trips, even non-hurricane season, to where he just said, I'm not going this year. But it was an insurance. It wasn't so much COVID or economy. It was just strictly that the insurance rates, if they were even going to issue you insurance, just went through the roof. And I don't know he didn't know what caused that, and I hadn't heard anything. And it's not like piracy is up or anything like that.
But hurricanes.
I guess hurricane, but you get past November now, probably December 1st. The weather's fine. So
I think there's uncertainty because of COVID too, because these boats often go to the Caribbean, or in the summertime they go to the Med. I mean, there have been large yachts locally that aren't usually here because they're either in the Med or the Caribbean. And I think the owners are worried about getting stuck down there, getting sick and getting stuck down there, and not knowing what closures are going to happen.
Well, we don't know what and also, I mean, Europe, I don't know what, pick a country as to whether or not you come in and quarantine for 14
Right.
days. So if
Right.
if the crew does get a boat over there, is the owner going to be able to fly in and use it? I mean,
Exactly.
Right.
I can say at City Dock, we're noticing a huge boom. We're absolutely packed. We'll probably make over $100,000 in October. We usually make less than 30,000.
Wow.
And September was at least as big as last September. So we have not seen a downtick, and we are getting more big boats than ever.
What are
So-
you getting interest in winter dockage, or, just because there are more boats out there?
Well, winter storage is usually a little anemic, but this year it looks pretty good. I'm hoping we're going to fill up, and we're getting like 50-footer plus. Like, we're not getting those small sailboats. We're getting big boats that are staying this year. Well, we're not full yet, but it's encouraging.
All right.
And Beth, are we talking about the mooring fields? Is that what you're talking about?
No winter storage on our docks.
Ah, thank you.
The moorings are absolutely jammed. We're making sometimes more than $2,000 a day on moorings.
Wow.
Which means full and then full again. And boats are leaving and they're filling again.
Yeah. Worst
And they're
problem.
bringing dinghies.
All right. I see Ashley came back. Did you have any luck with I hope it's 46, whatever the number was, R something, 46?
Yeah, it's R4620. It was adopted on Monday night. They have not posted the final version of that yet. I can check with my the staff in the Office of Law tomorrow morning and let you guys know what the final fallout is. I assume they usually take a couple days to post the final product to get it uploaded, so it should be up this week, but I can check.
Yeah, or just have, when it's checked, who posted it? Jacqueline post that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Just have her send me or the MAB, an email that it's up, and then I'll deal with it from there.
Okay, sounds good. And then on the other issue on the city dock policy, I did get Debbie's and yours comments. The deputy harbor master also had a bunch of comments, so I've sort of compiled those all into a working draft. I will wait until see if you guys have any further ones and then provide you an updated one. But I have received them and I have been keeping track of them. It's just sort of coordinating them all together at this point.
All right, thanks. So Debbie, Jen, if we can try to touch base in the next couple of days. I'm out of the office and back in Baltimore all day tomorrow, but Thursday or Friday, just so we can close that loop and then tell Ashley that all the comments are in, we'll do that. All right, I'll go around the room, starting with Andy. Anything else, Andy?
Just back to the boat show thing. This has been the quietest music month. This would normally be a time when I would play music 5 nights a week during the boat shows before and after. And the calendar is not empty, but it's sparse. And it's just a fringe as what Trogdon was talking about, as far as in effect, that you have the ripple effect of the boat show not being here.
Interesting. Frida?
I just want to pay a quick tribute to Jeff Ewenson, who tragic loss to the maritime community in Annapolis, and husband of Mary Ewenson of the Spin Sheet Prop Talk Fish Talk Empire. We're all just gutted, and it's a huge loss to the community, and he was well loved and a great person. He'll be missed. Thank you.
I'm glad you brought that up, and I feel very remiss for not being the one that brought that up. That it was a very, very tragic circumstance, and to your point, not only was it a loss to the Annapolis community, but to the much larger sailing community as a whole. He was a well respected, well liked, and just a first class individual all the way around. So perhaps we should give a little bit of thought. And I know it's really, they've encouraged, and I have not reached out to Mary individually because I'm sure she's has plenty on her mind right now. but probably going forward, we ought to think about what the city to remember Jeff in some fashion, and just gives that some thought as we move forward. Duncan.
Yeah, we will be parading downtown this Sunday. 12:30 is the Parade of Schooners. So there we go. We'll be there. I also want to say that we have had an astounding virtual Great Chesapeake-Based schooner race. So instead of taking the boats from here to Norfolk, each boat picked a charity and the race was a fundraising race. Our goal was $30,000 total. We raised $66,000.
Wow.
So
Yay.
it was a big success. I don't know why we ever get in the boats.
With no, all that money with no expense. Debbie?
My taxi captains were very sorry that the boat show didn't happen this year, Peter. It's a big time. Everybody looks forward to it all year long. And I want to say at the marina, we sold more fuel than we ever have before this year, but most of it was gas and very little of it was diesel. I thought that was interesting.
That's reflective of the boats that we're selling, where the 20 to 30 foot outboard gas powered, whatever, runabouts.
Yeah.
Peter?
Yeah, thanks, Frida, for bringing up Jeff. He was a good friend, and it's a terrible, terrible loss. Mike, I'm guessing that the pirate ship and the birthdays aren't happening, but I don't know. I haven't been in the harbor, so I'm curious if you will comment on that, and I don't have anything else.
Mike, Stephen, I'll come back to you in a minute.
Sure. Yeah. So the pirate ship is going. The birthday parties are not going, nor the school field trips. We're running in a fairly limited capacity. We feel it's safe. We got the help we needed from the federal government so that we can endure the winter of 2020, 2021 and come back strong in the spring. So yeah, right now, happy to be just about completing. We have trips Wednesday this week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then one repeat field trip that rescheduled from the spring next week, just before Halloween, and then we'll be shut down and looking forward to 2021.
Scott.
Two things. One, I think it'd be great, Duncan, if you could do 2 laps around the harbor in the parade. More the better, if there's time to do that. And
yeah, Lee Tawney has got the city in on this, and they're doing all sorts of promotion on it.
Yeah.
And I'm not very, very deep in all that stuff, but yeah, 2 laps is not a bad idea. We'll have that discussion.
Yeah, but since they're special boats and you get them all together at one time, might as well make the most of it while they're here.
Yeah.
Not that you could go up Eagle Alley or anything, but around the harbor maybe a couple times.
But if you do go up Eagle Alley, a rooster tail, a necessity.
I think,
Mike, isn't your boat a schooner?
I think jumping between the mass of woodwind and links would be just perfect.
That's even better. Yeah, do that. That would be
Just
safe.
don't tell Beth.
Take your upper stays off the schooners on those.
Yeah, there you go.
And Mike, on your workup, which is great on the safety issues on Severn River, I can vouch for that, and Frida also knows it, but especially around the Naval Academy there and their sailing programs that have events on weekends and stuff. And I've been there when I was coaching over there, and I can't agree more than to try to tone down, especially in front of where the boat population is and dinghies and things like that.
Bill.
Duncan, I'll pass the word on to the Sea Scouts about the schooner race on Sunday. Nothing further to add other than that.
All right, I'll come back around now to Stephen.
Oh, I didn't have anything else to add. Thank you.
All right, Ash, Hope.
I have nothing else to add either.
Jen.
I have nothing else to add. Just looking forward to Sunday and seeing all the schooners going around the harbor is going to be fun.
Ashley,
Nothing further from me.
thanks for joining us though, and we'll get back to you hopefully by the end of the week. Beth?
No, I guess the only thing I have is that I'm hoping with some slower time, which I'm still waiting for. I'm hoping for some minor edits, maybe some significant edits to Title 15. And I'm hoping for the group's consideration and possible support on those. To be specific, the only reason I could keep the Trump flotilla out of Ego Alley, which was over 400 boats, was because we were in a state of emergency. So I'll be looking to see if we can tweak some piece of Title 15 that will allow me to control boats underway in such a circumstance.
Anything to control a Trumptilla, I would be totally all over.
Let's see who Jake, you've been quiet and listening. I assume you're still listening. Or not. All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would.
Mr. Fagley, Mr. Thomasini, seconded. Tammy, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Tammy, good luck with your 10-year-old, and thank you for all your work, and we'll see everybody in November.
I am, yes, sorry. I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, okay.